Hello and welcome back to Be a Feminist podcast, the podcast where we discuss feminist issues from the perspective of African women. And today we have a very interesting topic, and with me to discuss it is our resident co-host, Miss Chineye Nweke.
This one you added Miss to my name.
Let them know that you're not taking, you're in the market. Have you had the day to call it? You're still in the market.
I'm still on the street.
Yes, still in the street. She's not off the market.
No.
So we'll be talking about feminism and religion. And believe you me, this is one of the, should I say, tripods of feminism. This is one of the clashes, one of the most important clashes feminist women have, but women who are trying to enter the feminist circle. And the number one conflict they have is religion.
Yeah.
And because we don't want this to be, too mingled up or mashed up, we're going to divide this episode into three. We're going to talk about feminism and Christianity, feminism and Islam, feminism and ATR, that's African traditional religion. And we're starting with Christianity. So Chine.
Yeah. So I mean, most of us were raised religious. So I understand the attachment we all have to, believing in God. It's not just about believing in God anyway, but all the religious rituals you are used to, going to church, reading the Bible, obeying God's commandments. But I feel like as you grow in your feminist journeys, sooner or later you're going to come to an intersection, or rather a crossroads, where you begin to wonder, because your feminist ideals will definitely clash with your religious ideals. And that's a given. If you're a Christian, sooner or later you're going to bump into parts of the Bible that, if you are a feminist, you're going to be like, So what I don't understand is, how do people rationalize it? I mean, I used to be a Christian. I wouldn't say I'm an atheist. I'm not just interested.
Yeah, more of an agnostic.
Exactly. I don't have the energy to define my unbelief, or I'm just not in to do any of that anymore. So, and it was a process. I wasn't always ultra religious. It was maybe easier for me. But you grow up, you begin to see certain portions of the Bible that people use to justify the oppression and subjugation of women. And with time, sometimes you're trying to make excuses for them, but with time you be like, it's not just to me anyway. It's not. That's how my own journey went. I'm like, no, something has to give. And feminism, religion, what gave was religion. It was not debatable for me. It was really easy for me to give it up. And sometimes you come across feminists who say, misogynists pick and it's true, pick and choose what parts of the Bible they believe in and practice. So I get to choose. And while I think that's valid, I just think is the mental stress is much for me. Like when you say you can pick and choose, and then you still go to church. When you go to church and you hear all those misogynist sermons, like some of the most misogynistic things I've heard has been from the altar in the church of God. And what do you do at that point? You can't debate them. And I think when you expose yourself to those things, they begin to seep into your head. You begin to have feminists who say they are feminists, but they also believe in submission. How do you rationalize that? I'm using submission because it's a really popular Nigerian topic. And most submission, the concept of submission comes from the Bible. Apostle Paul, which by the way, I hate.
If you cannot be a feminist and not think Paul is a major asshole.
But then you see people who identify as feminists. I mean, I've seen them a lot on social media, on Facebook, and they try to rationalize. They say, Paul said women should submit, but he also said men and women should submit to each other. But there is a reason why that portion of the Bible is not what people talk about. So how do you balance it in your head?
Okay, I'm going to step. Okay, when we're talking about this topic, we're like, okay, there might not be any need for it to be a debate, but I think it's edging closer and closer to that place.
Yeah.
Okay, because I'm a Christian, not a church going, but I'm a Christian, but I'm also a very, 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 very staunch feminist.
Yeah.
And Chineye is asking, and I believe that there are a lot of women like me, a lot of feminists like me, and what she said is actually very true, because when as you start your feminist journey, or I've been a Christian all my life. I grew up in a very religious household, so you can imagine, you know, reading all those things, assimilating it. And but the thing is, I believe you can actually be a Christian and still be a feminist, or you can practice your religion and still be a feminist. I don't think it's cherry picking. She was asking how we rationalize this. Okay, let me tell you how I rationalize it. How I rationalize it is I keep on. There's a time I said this thing on Facebook because, like, I don't really care what every other person says. If you're a Christian, your major focus is on Christ. So you look at him and, are there traces of misogyny in him? And this was somebody who lived in the, BC or AC or whatever back then. Are there traces of misogyny? Misogyny? Is he a misogynist? What did he do? And these are the things. I think there was a point. I got to a point where I got tired of trying to cherry pick, so to speak, trying to say, okay, I picked this, I picked that. He said this, but he also said that. He said submit it. I literally cancelled everything that is not Jesus himself speaking on. If he did not say, and then you have to understand as a Christian, we're going to get to other religions first, but you have to understand as a Christian that all these people who wrote all these things are humans, are men.
Yeah, definitely.
You have to understand that these are men who were platformed as the head. They were speaking not even from a place of Christianity. They were speaking more from the place of what is this word? Privilege as men. You don't expect a man will always be a man, will always be a man, will always be a man. Even when he's trying to talk about religion, his privilege comes first. So you're not going to expect a patriarchal man who has never been married, who has traces of gay tendency in him. Yes, I said it. To come and be telling you that you and your husband are equal or blah blah blah. We are not talking that. When there was a time people would throw false teachings. I'm a Christian, I'm not a Paulian, and that is what I used to rationalize it for myself. That's one. Then number two, like I said, I tried to look at the works of Jesus, what he did when he was on earth. I don't want to sound before people come and kill me. I don't want to sound I don't want to sound insensitive or offensive to anybody. But when you look at other religions, from Islam to their representative figure, let's say Muhammad, peace be unto him. Let's say Buddha. Let's say you will definitely see traces of misogyny. You will see where they did things that you as a woman you'll be like, oh shit, But when we talk about Jesus, and this is not me trying to, when we talk about Jesus, the way he lived his life, there's a time I took time to make different posts, from the way he talked about the prostitute to the Samaritan woman to how he took Mary and Martha and told them fucking leave the kitchen, come sit down and learn, all those things. These are things that will make you be like, okay, this person wasn't like the rest. He didn't really hate women, like, because there was intense hatred of women in the Bible. Oh goodness me, you cannot be a Christian and read from Genesis to Revelation that you won't see things that will make you appalled as a woman. But I think one of the things that stood out for me as someone who has read the Bible over and over and over when it comes to Jesus was his stance on divorce. Because you have to know that there's a time I made this post on Facebook. In Leviticus, in the Old Testament, it was made, their God made it very easy. You can divorce your wife when you get tired. That's how misogynistic their practice was. When you get tired of your wife, it doesn't matter. She doesn't have to do anything to you. You can just be like,
yeah,
I'm done.
I'm done.
Yeah. You're free to, if you want to marry a girl and she's doing younger for you, you can go rape her and then you marry her. Like that was the thing. But here, you could marry a virgin, the most beautiful girl in the land, and when you get tired of her, you just give her a paper telling her you're divorcing her, and then go marry another one, tell her you're divorcing her, marry another one. So a man could actually marry 10 wives in his lifetime, divorce all 10, and continue. That was the thing. So because of that law, men were using women and dumping them like tissue paper. You get a woman, what's the word? Rape her or use her or disvirgin her, get her pregnant, then issue her a divorce paper and move on to the second one. When Jesus came, he said, and this is why, this is the thing with religion. They now came and turned that place to say Jesus said God hate divorce. No. he was trying to stop that that thing they were doing to women.
They were
Where
misusing it.
exactly where you can just wake up one morning and maybe because your wife's breast don't go or she's pregnant and you don't like how she looks anymore, you tell her, Aboma, I'm divorcing you, and you go and marry Norma. And he said it that if you're going to do that, if you divorce your wife, just wake up and divorce her. You were committing adultery with your next wife. And that curbed that shit. That curbed it. But you know how our people come and say, hey, no, 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 no. There was never a time Jesus spoke on that. When you realize that he was trying to say that because women were being used like rags, like tissue. Do you understand? So I think that was one major factor. So when you ask how do we rationalize it, I think how I rationalize it is I don't really try to put mind, so to speak, on what this other Bible person. I can't remember the last time I read Timothy. I stay away from every books of Paul. Yeah, because I don't want to rile myself up. And yes, I also agree in cherry picking because if misogynists can do it, if they're going to skip out everything that Jesus Christ did for women, like if I start going into it, how he took Mary and Martha as his disciples, told them to stop cooking, how he talked to the Samaritan woman, Samaritan woman that he was not supposed to talk to because she was a woman and she was from Samaria, how he mingled, how he went to a party and the prostitute was touching him and it was, beg, leave her alone. You know, there are a lot of things that you're going to see and it endears you to him. And when you look out, these misogynists are going to skip all over those things and go and hold, Paul said this, Timothy said that, this person said this. That's the same way I skip all those things and go like, no, but Jesus did this. And that's the person I'm interested in. I think that is how religious Christians or feminists that are Christians rationalize it. And at the end of the day, I think I'm going to say, I've said this 1,000,000 times, but I keep on saying it. If I get to any point in my religious journey where my feminism clashes with religion, always, at every point in time, my religion bows down. My humanity as a woman, my feminism always, like this is let's say this is feminism and this is religion, and there is a clash. Every time religion bows, my humanity as a woman always takes what's the word?
Precedence.
Thank you. I'm not a dundee, don't mind me. I was like, that is how it is at every given point in time. So what you said, Chineye, about okay, when you hear misogynistic things in the church, I've been there, done that, and I always oppose it. I think my sister can tell you that the time I went to church, when we're about to go to service, and they called out all the men that were going to service, called out all the women that were going to service, and then they prayed for the men, let your blessings fall, let your this, let your that, and when it got to my turn, they prayed for me to get a husband. And I refused to say amen. Priest was there saying, say amen. I refused to say amen in front of the whole church. He was cutting eye, say amen. My mom was looking at me, cutting eye for me. I refused to say amen. He said he was talking to the church that why is it your marriage? He said, what is it? I said, I don't like the prayer. How can you pray for the men going to service for God to open their way, do this for them, do that for them? Me, you're praying for me to get a husband. I'm not rich for God to open my way. So when I meet these issues, I either stop going to church or I challenge it. I challenge it right there and then. If I can. If it's maybe it's talking shit from I zone out, I will always put my humanity first as a woman before I start thinking of religion. And I remember when we went home, my mom said, okay, is this why I said, yes, I will not take that prayer. I reject that prayer. I don't want that kind of prayer. I'm not going to service to go and get married. And she was like, okay, let it be for you as you said. My parents were very, very, very okay with it. I think in 2020, my priest now called me one time, was like, he noticed, and this happened over and over and over again. They will call out young girls to come out for prayers, and they'll be praying for us is get married, husband. Why do they call out young men? Keep serious blessings on them. And every point in time, I do not say amen. And he told me, and he noticed that when I come for prayer, I never say amen to prayers of getting married. I say, yes, I don't want to get married. I don't want to have kids. I want to live my life, enjoy my life, and die. That's it. I told him right there and then. He was like, do your parents know? Yes, they know. They agree. They are okay with it. And that was it. That was how I shut that down. So every time he's saying prayer, he gets himself, like maybe we come for Thanksgiving or whatever, and he's saying prayer for our family, for me, let them enter the family, he remembers himself. I go look am like this and I won't say him, and he will remember himself and rephrase his prayer to be better. I feel like if at every time you come in contact with something you feel is not right in your religion, especially in Christianity, because that's what we're talking about now, and you let it slide, you are aiding the whole thing. You're aiding. I don't.
That's my next point. So, like when I say, how do feminists rationalize it? You see what you said now. I doubt many religious feminists do what you say, because what you see is that they say they are feminists, but when they enter the church space, it's like they leave their feminism at the door. It's the same thing we do with marriage. If you're going to persist in feminist spaces, as a feminist, if you're going to persist as a feminist, but who still wants to be in church spaces, what are you doing to at least resist what is happening? Are you making efforts to speak up? Or because what I feel like what people do is just be like, you zone out and that's it. That doesn't do anything for us, and that's one of my pet peeves with religion. Religion blunts the edges of women. Religion is one of the biggest tools of indoctrination. Religion makes women to be not rebellious, because it's like it tamps women down. You can see effects of religion. Like when you say a feminist is religious, deeply religious, you can always tell. They always hold themselves back. A deeply religious feminist hardly ever lends their voices to topics like abortion. They try to stay out of marital feminist discussion. They are not always loud when it comes to women's body autonomy, especially with things like marital rape or women's right to withhold sex from men, because these things are things that directly conflict with religious teachings.
I think they actually do, but not. There are some religious feminists that I know, very, very religious, but they are vocal. Not that they are vocal, but they know which side they take. But it's just that, like you said, religion makes women docile.
Yeah.
So they'll probably not go and start those conversations in the church. But they hold the same.
I believe for their personal lives, they hold those ideals. I'm not even doubting that at all. But what I'm saying is, you've been here, you've seen the light. What I do, because there are other girls in the church who maybe do not know that it's possible to resist these things. How do they know? How do we teach them?
In their defense, because this is a debate.
Yeah, definitely, sure.
In their defense, yes, religion tamps women down. Religion makes women docile, but women are actually rebelling now more than ever. There are more women that don't go to church.
Yeah. I agree with that option.
That do not participate. The church is seeing a rapid decline in the number. And remember that most religious places are held together by women, especially churches. Let me just use church. If you go to a church and there are 1,000 people there, let's believe that 600 to 700 are women.
That's exactly what I'm saying. I want women to know that they hold power in the church.
And now more women are opting out of that religious charade. More women that are even Christians do not go to church. I don't go to church. I'm a Christian. And I'm not even an agnostic like this Onyenjo here. I'm a Christian, but I don't go to church because I can't do that in my family church. I can ask questions in my family church and all of that and be like, no, I don't want that shit. But when you go to a big church, like I'm living in Lagos, I can't do that.
Yeah, I don't have access.
So I don't have access to all of that. So I just take myself out of all that. My sister does not go to church. I can count 1,001 feminists that have removed themselves from the whole charade. So I think yes, feminists, very religious feminists might not be vocal about these issues, but at the same time, a lot of them are taking themselves out of that space. Our mothers were not like this, so they go church, even if waiting the priest, they talk, they go to church in fact, they go to church 3 times a week. We are opting not to, and I love it.
Yes, I actually encourage that, because again, I know that not everyone can be, the kind of activist feminist that they're always trying to be in conversations and trying to do something, say something. I get that. That's why I feel like removing yourself from church. I mean, you don't need to go to church to believe in God, to be a Christian. Nobody is going to take away those tasks from you. But I want women to be more active in our rebellion. When the church, and I've noticed what you said, because though it hasn't fully come into Nigeria, I see a lot of articles writing about millennials and Gen Zs. They are not in church, especially abroad. And the church is actively worried what can we do to, because obviously church is a numbers business.
Mhm.
They need numbers
Mhm.
to be as profitable as possible. And when your youngest population is opting out, you either drastically change. Recently, you notice some of the utterances of the Pope is becoming lesser and lesser conservative.
So going to the liberal.
Yes, the Catholic Church is taking note that they are losing their youngest population, and it is the younger population who is going to grow, get married, have children, and birth the next generation of churchgoers. And if they're not going to church, the church is going to die out. You see congregations in Europe, big ass churches, and there are only 10 people in a service. Something is wrong, because I feel like the church has to move. Feminism is not going to move. We're not going to go back to the days where women are to be seen and not heard in church. For example, one of the things that annoyed me endlessly was how male-centered churches are, especially Orthodox churches, Catholics. I'm an Anglican. I was born an Anglican.
Yeah, I'm an Anglican.
Yes, Catholic churches. I used to attend Catholic churches a lot because they used to be very short. Loved it so much. Do you understand what it is? What it means to exclude women, half of your population, from the leadership roles in church? Women are, when it comes to cleaning the church, organizing ceremonies, cooking, all those servitude posts, you see women, you believe women should do that. When it comes to heading churches, you say women are not. Why? And there's no logical reason why women should not be priests. Okay, in the Catholic Church, people who have dedicated themselves to the service of Christ, you have the Reverend Fathers, and they head churches. The Reverend Fathers are almost always financially successful because they have access to, and then you have the Reverend Sisters who are usually secluded in one convent.
Even praying. The name alone, Father and Sister. Why not mothers? That's one of the things that we were discussing this before the show. And I was saying that at the end of, you just find out that this are Christianity. It is very, very obviously all Abrahamic religions are very, 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 very misogynistic. Because it doesn't even try to appeal to the woman. It doesn't even try. From this thing she said, now how many are an Orthodox Christian, where the main angles Catholic and
Anglicans,
Methodists. There are no leadership roles for women. The only roles that women get are servitude roles. They'll be like, okay, only see in our church, I think they have Udo group, welfare. People that will cook and make sure father is eating. That is it. And that is it. Cleaning of the church. They'll call out all the women that are supposed to come and clean the church.
Why?
And never the men. But when it comes to leadership roles,
like when they have a committee for bazaar, when there is money involved, it's men. Parochial church committee, men heading it. Then they now have the special women groups, the CWO, welfare. And like, are you not upset? Because it upsets me greatly.
Of course.
And you realize that because men are always in leadership positions in the church, that is why our churches are so exclusionary of women. And that is why they can say certain things against women. Nobody is checking them. It's a boys' club. All women have to do is sit down and listen to men condescend on us, tell us how we are inferior, how you have to be submissive to men. And again, another big pet peeve that I have is how the church is the number one supporter of men abusing women. We don't say it enough, but churches are a hot mess of, they coddle men. Like it's like your priests and your reverend fathers and your pastors expect men to physically, emotionally, and financially abuse you, and they always have a ready-made excuse. And by telling you to pray, you pray hard enough, and then the nonsense virtuous woman thing is a whole cancer, really. I feel like if women are not going to rebel inside of the church, we have to rebel by withdrawing our presence from the church.
This is the thing that I can rationalize remaining a Christian, staying in your house and read Bible, but I cannot rationalize going to such places, getting fed this thing all over again, getting excluded from the roles that matter. It's very rare, especially if you grew up in Orthodox churches, to see a woman take the pulpit and talk from the viewpoint of the woman. Even if she's going to take the pulpit, she's going to regurgitate what men have been saying. A woman cannot go to the pulpit now and talk about family views, like sort of stuff like this submission thing. I talk about it is actually meant you guys are supposed to submit to each other.
Never.
You regurgitate stuff that we already Jesus walk on the sea. This. I remember my sister when she was asked to preach. on a, well, I think one of those, maybe Good Friday or whatever, and she wanted to preach about women empowerment.
Empowerment.
And they were like, no.
Are you
How
sure?
about, are you sure you're going to do that? How about, when
Virtuous
they
woman.
just nudge you to another, preach about the virtuous woman. And we all know that virtuous woman is the epitome of servitude, of a woman, a broken woman, a woman that works hard while the husband is at the gate. Have you read Proverbs 31? And have you read it down to see what the virtue? She's a hard worker. She does it. She submits.
Only
She
her.
only her. While the husband is at the gate, laughing with the
That's
friends.
what they want you to do.
And this has happened to me too when we're doing Sisters Week, and they asked us to talk about women that this. I wanted to talk about Deborah. I wanted to talk the judge and everything. Our priest Delochukwu said no, I should talk about Esther and how she came down and became, and how she brought herself down to now to King Ahasuerus.
You see?
Blah, 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 blah. This is what we're talking about. So even when women climb the pulpit, which happens very rarely, they are nudged into the direction of reinstituting this patriarchy that we're trying to fight. They are nudged into the direction of bringing women down. Do you understand? The church, at the end of the day, you find out that the church, I don't say it hates women, but the misogyny is right there, and nothing has been done so far to tamp it down.
Nothing.
I remember some priests will come on. There are so many, sermons here. I remember one time a priest came on, and on Mother's Day, this priest, and normally on Mother's Day, women are supposed to come and preach, but on Mother's Day, this priest came and started talking to women about how they're supposed to be. It's not just be answering wife. When your husband does this, do you support him? When your husband asks you for styles in the bedroom, do you give him that?
Can you imagine?
I swear on my life. If your husband is asking you for sex, if he's asking you for style, do you do this? On Mother's Day or Mother's Sunday, that a woman is supposed to take the pulpit and talk about matters that affect women. You understand? So at the end of the day, it just is so tiresome that instead of putting myself through that, I can still retain my stance as a Christian who loves Christ and all of that, and pray and all that, and yet extricate myself from that.
Because going there, I feel like going there, you're funding your own oppression. Because you go to church, you pay your tithes, you warm their chair, you pay offering to men who condescend on women, men who create a breeding ground. Because it's like at the end of the day, churches just want everybody. I said it before, that the number one religion in the world is male worship.
Male worship.
And there's nowhere else where it is more obvious than in churches, religious buildings. See what she just said. On Mother's Day, you are talking about pleasing men sexually.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard a priest ever preach about men pleasing women sexually? It never happens. Nobody thinks about that, and yet they want women to keep. And I feel like it's not sustainable anymore. As feminists, we are in this world to stand in rebellion against the patriarchy, and this includes in churches, where it is found in churches. And there are so many ways we can do that. If you don't feel like arguing, and I understand the argument, their whole argument thing can be draining. You have to remove yourself from this place.
And I think this is one of the reasons why millennials, Gen Zs, are moving to all these unorthodox churches. That's why they're getting members. But there, they at least try to pretend that they value
pander a bit.
They try to pander a bit. They try to pretend that, because I'm sure that a lot of feminists who are watching this will say, hey, my church is not like that. So my church is not like that. So that is why they're understanding the market. That, okay, these women, we can't treat them like our father's churches treated them. And this is why they're getting members. That is why they're making billions. Because at the end of the day, church is a business. That's how they're making billions, because they are changing. So I wish this change will sweep everybody along. And before I conclude, I want to drop a story about Ruth Bader Ginsburg. I think we know her, the late Justice RBG. Yeah. And she was an Orthodox Jew. And I think in 1950, why she stopped being religious, or why she stopped being an Orthodox Jew, was she lost her mother. And she was supposed to do the Jewish morning rites, morning prayers and everything. They call it koruma, the minyan, something like that. And they refused to allow her to be counted. I think they needed 20 people for the ritual, for the morning prayer. And she wanted to be one of them, but they refused. They said it was only men. She was there, and men, 13 years old, from 13 years old, or boys. From 30, were counted, and they refused to count her. And because of that, after that incident, she was very angry. And this brings me to one point I was making. before we started the show. I was saying that when women face oppression, we instead of getting angry, we get
You
sad.
get sad.
You're not
I start
supposed to
looking
be
for
sad.
pity.
Yes, you feel sad. Sadness comes with complacency. When you're sad, you just leave it. We leave it for God. But
Nobody
when
changed the world from being
you're
sad.
when you're angry, you take action.
Anger is what changes the world.
So when you are in such whether you're being oppressed in your school, wherever, when you meet oppression, your default emotion at play should be anger, not sadness.
You walk,
not rage. And because that is what brings action.
Yeah.
So she said she was very angry, and because of that, she stopped going to church. Stopped going to the synagogue and stopped identifying as an Orthodox Jew.
Sure.
What she did was, okay, if you're asking her, like this, I'm just quoting her. If you ask her to write down her religion, obviously she will write Jew, but she never stepped her foot into the synagogue, stopped identifying, stopped going anything that has to do with it. In fact, when she was she said that the only thing that will make her start going back to the synagogue anymore is if the rabbi is very liberal and is a woman.
Yeah.
And right now we have female rabbis. Actually, we have female rabbis scattered all over the world. So, and today women are now counted, not necessarily because Ruth, stopped going to the church or whatever, but a lot of women started doing this. And like, if you're not going to allow me to be counted in my mother's burial or counted in this thing, I'm going to remove myself. Now women are counted for it. And if we're going to keep on saying, it's the Lord's way, religion was made for man. You can change it. You are the person. When you go and say, this is not how it's supposed to be. I'm very sure that in my church, or let me be specific, that particular priest in my church would not pray for women when they finish service to just get husband. I'm sure that he by now he will start fine-tuning the prayer he gives out. So if you're going to just be there and docile and be like, no change will be made.
Nothing.
Anytime your religion comes in clash with your humanity or your feminism, always make sure that the religion bows down. Do you understand? So I think that is where we're going to end today's show.
Yeah. And then I know some of you be like Ijoma said, be like, I'm not a Catholic, I'm not an Anglican. Actually, many of you, your Pentecostal pastors are incels. Like this one and his wife that is always talking rubbish. Kingsley and Mildred. I'm going to name them. Name and shame. And then that pastor Funke Adejumo.
That woman is a
horrible misogynist.
That woman,
If you attend Koza, shame on you. If you say you're a feminist, you're a woman, you attend Koza, I am calling you
feminist
out. Shame on you.
You are a woman and you attend
Koza.
Look in the mirror.
Shame on you. I am shaming you.
Look in the mirror and do.
Because you're a goat.
You're a goat. So these are the things. Like, if you know that this thing is happening, why are you
there? Why are you blessing there with your presence? Why are you spending your money in places that have shown that
literally,
they are for the
I was scrolling on Facebook and saw one woman that used the Koza man as her DP.
Unfriend! Block!
She didn't even do anything.
You are an enemy.
She didn't even do anything.
I feel like some of you go to churches where your pastors have been called out over and over again for sexual immorality, for adultery, for rape, and you are there.
Like the OPM, Daily Manna guy.
Why are you there?
Why are you still buying? How many women will this man touch before you people? His secretary was suing him for something that has to do with sexual distance.
So
and they stamped it down.
Another
woman came out with story of how he did that, this and that, and they almost threatened that one to death. Why are you still buying that?
You are funding the oppression of women, and I feel like it's high time we start naming and shaming you people.
Of course, that's why we have this show.
Because like someone said, majority of these churches are populated by women.
Of course,
you people fund the lifestyles of these terrible men.
You can do it in your little home. Like my mom used to buy that OPM. Nearly that scandal broke. The first one broke. Second one, I told her, Mom, don't buy that.
No more. Look for another Daily Manna book.
If you cannot find any Daily Manna book, just be reading Bible today.
Bible every day, pick one.
That's how I stopped it. It stopped entering into our house. War to Haman. This one.
Meanwhile, you're a rapist.
You're a rapist.
Why is your man of God, your pastor, your priest? And this also happens in the Orthodox churches too. Your priest has been caught raping, defiling, sleeping with. Like, why? And this happens every time, and you people still go to these churches, and then you tell me, "Oh, you separate." I don't believe.
I remember when I made a post about how when I was very young, I think 17, I was propositioned by a Catholic priest. Someone asking me out when I literally got admission to the university. I'm not even sure I had spent up to 2 months in the university. Asking me out, and luckily for me, Though I didn't see it as locked, then I lost my phone, and that was how that number went. I didn't, I had to go and buy a new phone and a new phone
SIM.
and a new SIM. And people wanted to eat me raw. Why? And this was when I was 17 years old. I was still on Gorimapa. I had not even started making my hair. I was still very ugly. Adolescent acne. Obviously a virgin. I had not even had my first kid. And people were like, "Oh, you shouldn't even be talking about this. Yeah, you said this is a man of God."
Imagine. I know many women do.
That's what
Make excuses for them.
you keep on
Why?
making excuses for these people.
No.
And that is how the church is turning into like a cesspool of misogyny.
Like just abuse and disgusting things. So please.
So religion, when it comes to this, let's just know that if at any point this one and this one is clashing, let the religion always fall. You immediately. You as a woman, now you matter. So I think that's what we're ending it.
Yeah.
Thank you for watching.
Thank you.
Like, subscribe, drag us on the comments and all of that.
I mean,
Bye.
bye.